Ignoring her barb, I demanded, Susan, explain this. Why am I laid off? The question hung heavy in the air. Whispers rippled through the crowd, laced with mockery. He really thinks he's the boss, huh? How does he have the nerve to talk like that? Someone said. Yeah, just a guy who relies on his girlfriend. Wearing a suit doesn't make him important, another chimed in. My blood ran cold. I'd always prided myself on keeping a cool head, but this blatant disrespect was infuriating. Susan, aware of the murmurs, spoke in a clipped tone. That's right. You've been fired, Mr. Morgan. And uninvited. Her voice turned steely. As we move towards an IPO, we need to streamline operations. You, unfortunately, are no longer a part of that vision. But everyone else, she continued, her voice taking on a saccharine sweetness, raises and promotions are coming your way. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a stark contrast to the icy knot forming in my stomach. As security guards, summoned by Susan, ushered me out, a cowardly kick landed on my leg from behind. A woman's voice, dripping with disdain, echoed in the hallway. Just a freeloader. Good riddance. At least Susan's got brains. Without him weighing her down, she'll make a fortune. Outside, the winter air bit, the snow a cold mirror to my own heart. Susan and I had built Morgan Thompson Group from scratch after graduation. I had poured my blood, sweat and tears into this company. Now, because I lacked shares and held only a facade of power, I was expendable. Laid off from the company I had helped create. There was no way I was leaving without answers. The next morning, the company felt like a stranger's territory. My office, once a space that hummed with my energy, was now occupied by someone else. In the corner, a few boxes awaited me. Inside were my laptop, framed photos and the remnants of my professional life here. Pushing open the door, I found my cousin, Peyton Morgan, lounging in my chair, a smirk playing on his lips. Rough morning, Charlie? He greeted with a mocking lilt. Ignoring him, I strode towards the incriminating picture frame he was toying with, the one with me and Susan. Congratulations on your eviction, cuz? He drawled, leaning back in the chair with a theatrical sigh. Or maybe I should congratulate you on your ex finding a new plaything? His words ignited a spark within me. And before I could stop myself, my fist connected with his jaw. A yelp escaped his lips, followed by a flurry of curses as he clutched his reddening face. Despite the pain, his arrogance remained intact. In fact, he seemed to think that this was all I could do since I was desperate. Nice one, Charlie, he sneered. You have nothing left now. Let's see how you fight me with empty pockets. A cold anger settled over me. Someone with nothing to lose has nothing to fear from someone who has everything to protect, I countered, leaving him sputtering in the stolen chair. The whispers that greeted me as I walked through the corridors felt like a swarm of hungry mosquitoes. If they enjoyed gossip so much, maybe I should have fired half of them when I had the chance, I thought bitterly. I continued to storm towards Susan's office, kicking the door open with a resounding bang. Susan, startled, whirled around, her face a mask of fury. What do you think you're doing? Still think you own the place? I took a deep breath, trying to control the storm brewing within. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more. Fury simmered within me as I walked home. Blinded by love, I had poured my heart and soul into the company, giving Susan everything she ever wanted. Now, I was left with nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal. When I arrived, the news of my dismissal had already reached my parents, courtesy of Peyton. Their greeting was a cold shoulder and a torrent of criticism. You've never been as charming as Peyton, my father barked. Jobless and don't even have a girlfriend. A real disappointment. University was a wasted expense, my mother chimed in. The relatives are coming over later. Don't you dare sulk. You're not the big boss anymore. Go beg Peyton, maybe he can toss you some small jobs. If it was not New Year's Eve, I would not have bothered coming home to this den of negativity. But no matter how much I did not want to, I still had to face everything. What I did not expect was Susan waltzing in with Peyton by her side, a picture-perfect couple. Susan, the woman I had spent 5 years with, the woman who never wanted to settle down, was now ready to parade around with Peyton after a mere few days? It was baffling. I sat on the sofa, forcing a smile as I greeted them. Peyton's mom could not stop smiling as she introduced Susan to everyone. Susan is the owner of a big company. You should call her Madam President now. A very capable woman, isn't she? Susan blushed coyly, the picture of elegance. But I knew better. Peyton's mother, sweet on the surface, was a controlling freak, and Peyton, a mama's boy to the core. No one dared speak the truth. If Susan really married into their family, she would surely suffer. My mother, eager to curry favor, piled on the praise. Madam President, what an honor. No wonder everyone says Peyton's so lucky. Snagging a CEO for a girlfriend, how talented. No need for that, Auntie. How is my cousin doing lately? Peyton directed the attention to me. Before I could answer, my dad glared at me angrily and scoffed. Don't even mention it. Your cousin is almost 30 and still got fired. I feel ashamed just talking about it. Oh, really? Peyton demurred, a touch of malice flickering in his eyes. Perhaps Charlie could come work for our company. Susan is a kind soul. I'm sure she wouldn't mind taking him in. My mother beamed at him, her gaze darting towards me with thinly veiled disgust. Such a wonderful opportunity, Charlie. Thank your brother. You're a grown man, yet nowhere near as accomplished as Peyton. Peyton's parents preened with pride. Indeed, Charlie, you're at the age to settle down. Heard you've been seeing someone for a while? Bring her home, meet the family. Though, finding a girlfriend like Susan, well, that's a talent not everyone possesses, just like our Peyton. The echoes of their praise for Peyton and thinly veiled criticism for me were punctuated by Susan's stiffening posture. Even Peyton seemed to squirm under the spotlight. A sardonic smile played on my lips. Understood, uncle, I replied. My mom suddenly remembered and quickly added, speaking of your girlfriend, you've been together for 5 years. Why haven't you brought her home? Is she some kind of monster? Mom, I said, my voice calm but laced with a bite. You know her name is Susan, right? The room plunged into a tense silence. My aunt, ever the peacemaker, offered a weak chuckle. What a coincidence, eh? Indeed, I said, my voice steady. She's Peyton's girlfriend now. How could I have brought her home? We just broke up. My ex-girlfriend, that is. Isn't that right, Mr. Opportunist? The weight of my words hung heavy in the air. Then, a stinging slap from my mother sent my head reeling. My face burned with a fresh wave of fury. She was flushed with rage, looking extremely angry. Why are you saying such things? You just can't stand seeing your brother do well. If you have any respect for this family, apologize to him right now. Peyton, feigning concern, placed a hand on her shoulder. Auntie, there's no need to get upset. I'm sure Charlie didn't mean it. I snorted coldly and pushed my mother aside. From now on, Peyton can be your son. Let's see if he can take care of you. Before she could respond, I stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind me. 20 years of putting up with them had finally reached its breaking point. I was done. Back in the comfort of my own apartment, a notification chimed on my phone. It was the client I had secured a contract with before I was fired. Being laid off, of course I could not continue working with them. However, I felt a responsibility to explain the situation, so I did just that. To my surprise, the client chose to stick with me, their business going forward with me at the helm. Meanwhile, news of my dismissal had already been spread by Susan.
Now you can watch the third part by pressing share and more.
Contrary to what she had expected, many companies of similar types reached out to me. Morgan Thompson Group may have been my creation, but my reputation as an industry leader remained. Susan, on the other hand, she had spent years coasting on my achievements, cultivating an image. Without my technical know-how, what value did she truly bring? Over the years, I had rejected lucrative offers to stay at Morgan Thompson Group, for Susan and for the future we envisioned. Now, cast aside, I was free to pursue my ambitions. I landed at a prestigious company I had coveted even before starting my venture with Susan. They offered double the salary and a vice president position. A dream came true. Shortly after joining, I secured a major deal, stealing the spotlight once again. Back at Morgan Thompson Group, however, cracks were beginning to show. That core project they were so desperate to finish? Without my expertise and the supporting knowledge, it was a ticking time bomb. Ironically, my new company had a collaboration with Morgan Thompson Group. As the person in charge, it fell on me to finalize the contract. A visit to my old stomping grounds. Enter Layla Harrison, the new employee handling the interface. Unaware of the simmering animosity, she knew me only as Mr. Morgan, a title devoid of the past baggage. As I approached the front desk, a familiar face greeted me with a sneer. It was the woman who used to work at the receptionist, her arrogance mirroring Susan's. What are you doing here? She scoffed. Morgan Thompson Group has no use for you anymore. Riding someone else's coattails, I could understand her disdain. Before I could retort, a love-struck Susan and Peyton appeared, hand in hand, presumably here for the collaborating company's representative. Seeing me, Peyton's face crumpled in disgust. You? What are you even here for? We have nothing left to offer you. A chuckle escaped my lips. Layla, completely unaware of the drama unfolding, rushed down from the elevator, bowing deeply. Mr. Morgan from the cooperating company is here for the contract negotiations. Susan and Peyton's faces contorted in shock.
Now you can watch the fourth part by pressing share and more.